Okay, folks, I'm going to do a little bit of our palm tree installation here. We've got these four bases ready to go. They just need palm trees on them, so we're getting to the bottom of what we have left of the palm trees that are made. We're going to need this little punch. It's not really a punch, but we're kind of using it as a punch. Bamboozled over here with that stuff. Let's see what we have to choose from. Okay, so we've got some small palms here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fan palms. I guess these are all fan palms except these. Three of these. And the other ones are fan palm style. All right, I don't want to use too many different style palms on a given stand. Okay, so that's what we have here. We might combine these in one, just so we can kind of wrap our head around what we have to choose from. Okay, here we got some small ones. These are all kind of these are the same type of leaf. This one's smooth. Okay, these are all bumpy trunked jokers, bumpy trunked. Okay, these are super thorny ones. So this is their cousin, same type of. And we got a couple little small ones here. Bumpy one. Okay, so these are this member of the family. All right. These are these things I was talking about, maybe making a fort out of them. I got 2 of them, so I don't know. Now I won't use this, but at some point, I don't want to get pulled in too many directions. And that's it, except for this one here. These are the tall ones. Well, we have some small little guys here. 3 of them. Okay. And then these are fan style. So I guess these would be over this kind. Okay, we got all the ones that we have painted all together now. All right. Now, with that said, of all the palm trees that I ended up purchasing, that's all of them with the exception of one bag. And this is the bag. These have not been painted. There will be, and these are all this style, the coconut palm style. Okay, and I probably have, I don't know, enough to make probably three or four bases out of this. I'm not sure that I'm going to roll right into doing those next. But okay, so with this said, we've got fan palm stuff. I actually may not have enough to do these 3. So we definitely want to do this this one. And we're going to take 2 large ones. We're going to use the fan palms predominantly on this one. One of those. One of those, and then we can roll into some of these other varieties. There's one of these that's an oddball. We'll use it, and This one's also kind of oddball as well. And maybe, okay. All right, so the very first thing we're going to do is and I may put some of these back. All right, we're going to leave this rocky outcropping visible. Okay, there's not going to be anything really big near that. So with that said, the two large palm trees, and all we're going to do is, this is just cork with a covering. We're just going to come in and say, you know what? We want to put one here. So just punch it and install it. Doesn't necessarily need to be on the highest point. And it's fairly self-healing. So if I don't like how something turns out, well, you just change it. Ooh, this one's hard to install. It wants to punish you. Pokey Joker. And they just stay in there with no glue or anything. Now, I actually don't know if I have any of the plants, or we're probably going to have to give some more of them a wash. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Okay. Any other let's grab another fan palm. All right, and then we got some of these low. Put one here. Where's another one of these chubby bastards? Little snip things around here somewhere. Or did I put them away? No, they're here. We had to use these for the bamboo. I mean, it holds in there really, really well. Okay. All right, that's all the big plants we're going to have on here. Okay, we'll have smaller plants in here and things like that. Okay. All right. We certainly have enough for another one. We're just gonna have to use other palms for these. Here we got 3. We're gonna go. And if for some reason you want to switch out what kind are in certain areas, I guess you could do that. All right, we'll have a couple of some small palm some small fan ones around these other large ones. It's a little too long. That one is an oddball. A smaller version of the same one here. Okay, we'll leave this like this. And of course, some of these will end up getting a little bit more. I painted the ends on these fan palms a little bit more once they were installed on here. Okay, so that's that one. And I don't have very many here. I don't have enough to do away with the tall ones. So I think what we're going to have to do is make some more. So that's going to take a little bit of time to dry. Might as well do that. Gotta do this from time to time before I forget how to do it. I just have to watch one of my videos. Okay, we're going to use this to put them in. Where's that bag of palm trees? Now, only thing I did to it was actually I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use the other foam one. All I did was wash them. They are washed in detergent and dried. I'm gonna leave them in the bag so we don't have too much chaos. I figured I got about an hour in me tonight to do this, so. let's get a brush that's not too big. Well, here's another little guy. Okay. More of these little trees to stain. Okay. So what we're going to use for the staining is Strong Tone from Army Painter. They can be down here just fine. All right, now these, have they been trimmed? They have not been trimmed. Okay. That's unfortunate. All right, we need to get the super readers out then. This is the only annoying thing about these things, is that you have to, well, you don't have to do this, but it's an eyesore. And you can't sand it. Doesn't work. It's the part with the little coconuts up here. Other than the flash, these things are pretty stellar. Okay. Goes on the bottom. Little flash you may have on the fronds. All right. I don't remember if I think I took the fronds off. Now that I think about it, I think I took the fronds off. And what did we grab this with? Because we certainly didn't make a huge mess. Maybe this thing. And all you do is you just take this wash and just go over it. And now the paint that you're going to dry brush over this is going to adhere a lot better to this wash than the plastic. It actually doesn't adhere. It doesn't come off once you seal it. I mean, if you really wanted to come off, you could, but it doesn't unintentionally come off very often. But it does have a problem like, it's almost kind of like when you're trying to wash something that's covered in butter. Like if you've got like a, what are those containers that, you know, like for the holidays, they'll put butter in like this container and bring it to the table. And that container is a pain in the ass to freaking clean. It's always like greasy. It's kind of the same way. Okay, so this one's done. So hopefully, okay. going to take one of these drawers. And that's what we're going to put these fronds in. Okay, next. And then when this is dry, what we'll do is we will yeah, and they must have some kind of wire in there because you can bend them a little bit. You know, they don't have to be all like perfectly up and down. Once I get all these palm trees used, I'll take a count how many exactly I bought and how many I painted, because it's certainly over 100. We got a long weekend coming up this next weekend, and we're going to be, hopefully we'll be far enough along with this that we can go back and start working on some of the things that we're going to put on the airfield, like that P40 that I just got something in the mail today to finish it up. Hey, what's up, Skylab? We got this stuff called Easy Line, so it's like really thin and it's elastic. I mean, it's so thin I can't even feel it in my hand. So that's what we'll use for the wiring in between the antenna and stuff like that. Do you have to do that? No, but I just feel like, you know, it's worth doing. So we'll do that for the P40. We've got a P47 also to do. That's actually the biggest reason I stopped doing aircraft. I was building aircraft models. I'm like, okay, well, I need to do the wire now. Would that be good for ship rigging? Yeah, you could use it like if you did 1/700 scale stuff or smaller. It's really, that's actually the fine. They make a fine and a thicker one. It's less than $20 a roll. It's actually a lot less than that, but you got to pay for shipping. It's like, you know, $11 or something like that. And I got it on eBay. And they make it in different colors and stuff like that. Model railroaders supposedly use it to put the wiring in between the telephone poles. And I've heard some good things the guys in the model club were telling me about it. And I'm like, all right, well, let's get some. It's like 100 feet. Like, okay, well, we won't need to buy it ever again. Yeah, it's called Easy Line. It's, where is it? I literally just opened the package. Yeah, BerkshireJunction.com. It's from Massachusetts. And the interesting thing is it's elastic. So you put it where you need it, and you can make it elastic. It's not like it's a lot easier to work with than sprue, supposedly. Which is not elastic. It's quite brittle, actually. Just a drop of super glue, and we'll be messing with this weekend. I got the P40 to do. I got several planes to do. The P40 is just almost done. It's nearly done. I started doing some of the panel lining on it. And, yeah, you know, it's for the Pacific, so. Yeah, cockpit's not glued in yet. I've been, you don't really enjoy doing terrain, but it seems like you like it a lot. So, the figures will paint themselves, okay? They always turn, like, I got it down to, like, I'm happy with how they're going to turn out. And one of the things about the wargaming is I'm tired of going to these magazines. I'm tired of looking at these magazines, and these people have these beautiful terrain setups. And I'm like, you know, I don't want to play a game that's you're playing with felt and it looks like crap, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna make really good looking stuff, and it just takes time. It's not even cost. I'm using really cheap stuff here because I got to make a lot of them, you know. But I mean, even the palm trees, I still spent like $100 on all the palm trees. I mean, I got a lot of palm trees, you know. The cork, it adds up, you know. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Now it's just a matter of putting it all together, and just seeing how it looks. And then we can paint some Japanese and Marines and that kind of stuff. You know, that part's fun. You know, but I don't want these awesome figures fighting over felt. So it's all important. You know, what draws my attention to see these games is that you have in these magazines is the terrain setup, not the figures. You know, because it's not like I don't like my figures. You know, as a matter of fact, I like my figures usually more than anything I see online in those magazines. But the terrain is really good. But you just got to put some effort into it. And one of the problems with terrain that's a problem with being effort, if you have it in a place where you're going to tear everything down, you're going to go to a convention, you're going to put on a game, you got to tear everything down, you're going to put it, like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, this will be played here, and, whenever that happens, it's not hugely important for me to play the game. It's bigger, it's more important for other people, but I'm like, I can get my gaming fix playing other stuff. And when I'm doing my gaming fix, I can't get my creative fix from playing the game. So I've recently been turned on to play War Thunder. And this one guy that I know, he lives 100 miles away or so. But I see him a couple times a year, and actually twice a month he's coming over to Mitch's and gaming. So he's a big fan of War Thunder, and I'm like, oh, I'll give it a shot, and for free. He's always giving me a hard time. I said, well, if there's a game that's available to play for free or you can pay for it, I'm fine not paying for it. But anyhow, it allows you to play some of these things. Allows me to play with ships and not have to be sidetracked into painting 1/700 scale ships. The aircraft. I'm learning a lot about the aircraft. The funny thing is that's what I really actually enjoy playing the most is the aircraft. I was telling him about it, and he didn't make any sense to me. He said, I find the tank super, super stressful. I find the tank super, super stressful because if you're playing, and and it's kind of like World of Tanks, but it's a lot more intricate. You're constantly on the mouse looking around for this thing. Your hand doesn't get a break. With planes, during a good part of it, you're flying level. So you're not constantly doing stuff with your mouse. And the same thing with, ships. You're not constantly doing stuff with your mouse. Planes is actually pretty relaxing. I mean, even if you're dogfighting, it's still pretty relaxing. But trying to aim on a tank and, a guy almost got a shot. Oh, hold on, he's moving up. It's like super stressful. Now, I'm not really interested in playing those games with random people. Because the problem is not only do you have, I don't want to interact with people that you're never going to meet. And the whole time I'm playing with him, we're talking World War II stuff constantly, because he's a stat nerd too. So we're talking about planes. We'll be flying some new plane, and we'll comment about it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of fun because it's super detailed about World War II. Then I'll look up a plane, and like we're doing Japanese the other night or whatever, and I don't know shit about Japanese planes, and but I'm learning. Well, I know more than most people, but that's not saying anything. But it's a lot of fun. Does it take the place of this? No, but I can get my gaming fix with that. That's fun, but it's not therapeutic. This is therapeutic because at the end of the day, with this, you have something to show for it. And it's funny because I got wargamers, they don't understand me building stuff and painting things and not playing with it. And then you got people that my model group, they can't understand, like building a model and like not putting it away in a display case, like actually using it for something. So, and I'm kind of, I'm in both worlds. I'm in both camps. I don't want to build a model and it just sit there, you know. So, okay. Well, I don't know how many of these we'll get done, but we'll plug along. I thought I had more palm trees already done, but I guess I didn't. But if it wasn't for the flash on these things, the quality of these cheap ass palm trees is really good. It's really pretty amazing. Ah! As you can see, you want good looking terrain, it's going to take some time. It just doesn't happen automatically. And I'm like, well, I don't want to play the game if it doesn't look awesome. Because I've done that before. And I'm like, okay, it's not very satisfying. The bamboo's turning out really well, but I'm pretty sure that to do one group of bamboo is going to basically take two pack. It's like $30 worth of material. You know, I think all of it'll fit in here because I'm working my way out. But you're going to have this group that's just solid bamboo. That's what you want. And it's not painted yet, but I wanted to prime the bottom. Just getting distracted. Have I made destroyed palm trees? No, I'm not going to get into that. That's too crazy. Well, I got one that accidentally broke, and I got a couple of them that I've got magnets on them and are singles. But I'm not going to make any destroyed. That's just. I do need to finish this project someday. You have to destroy them in the game. Maybe. I'm getting a kick out of buying all this stuff and using it all. Not like, buying it. It's one of the worst sins I always like to say. It's not the money you spend on something. Because if I build these palm tree things, I never play a game with them. I enjoyed them. I showed other people how to do stuff. They look good. It's like a win, right? But if you buy stuff and never do anything with it, you just wasted your money, man. You could have done something else. Have you made Japanese positions made of palm trees? No, not yet. One thing at a time. Now, right now, we need to. I'm focusing kind of on an airfield or something like that. I went to Hobby Lobby the other day. I'm like, I gotta see if they've got. Hobby Lobby has some like pre-made, like almost like paper mache little blocks, like squares, and they got circles. And I said, man, I could probably make some fuel tanks out of some of the circular ones. And I didn't put them on my list. So of course, I go to Hobby Lobby and everybody and their grandmother's there. Like it's just loaded full of people. And I got distracted. I'm like, okay, get me out of here. I'm not agoraphobic, but it's like sometimes it's just I don't want to deal with like people on the freaking weekends. Like that's like, oh, this is too much trouble. Let me get the hell out of here. So I just went in, did my returns, got more liking. But one of the things I was talking about yesterday is yesterday or the day before, or something like that. It might have been yesterday morning. There's I love video games for inspiration, and there's this one video game that came out in 2015. Okay, so it came out 10 years ago, and it was called Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's one of those Tomb Raider games. It's the only one I've played. I think it came free with the Xbox subscription or something like that. It's fun to look at. It's exploratory, and it takes place on this fictitious island. that the Japanese have a base on that ends up getting abandoned. They have a World War II base that's abandoned. But there's like bunkers and all kinds of stuff. And of course, you're coming back to it in 2015, so it hasn't been used in 80 years or whatever. 70 years. It's too late. I can't do math right now. You get the point. Since World War II. And there's all kinds of like bunkers and stuff you could make out of like styrofoam and stuff. Why is Hobby Lobby so busy? I don't know. And there's a lot of people there that are not hobby people. Like, what the hell are you doing here? When it first opened, like 2 or 3 years ago, it was a lot better. You could get 40% off coupons. They had more things in stock. But the worst thing about Hobby Lobby is it's not a true hobby store. And the reason why a true hobby store, every hobby store you'd go to would be different. If you go to a Hobby Lobby here or you go to a Hobby Lobby in Kansas, they're going to have exactly the same inventory. They're always going to have, if you're looking for tank models, they always have the same tank models. They always have the same ship models, aircraft models. They don't order their own merchandise. It's just like in bulk. However, their prices aren't too bad as opposed to Michael's. I went to Michael's the other day and I'm like, I'm not paying that for that. Like, everything was just like super expensive. Now, I didn't need anything. I just happened to be in the neighborhood, But, yeah, Hobby Lobby is always super busy. I'm like, you're not Hobby. I mean, it's a big store, but Chick-fil-A is busy. But Chick-fil-A is the only fast food that you don't get a freaking attitude when you order there. It's like you're bothering people like ordering at the other fast food places. And it used to be one of the only 2 fast food places that were worth a damn. The other one was Arby's. Arby's isn't worth a shit anymore either. But Chick-fil-A's coffee is horrendous though. Horrible coffee. Like if you're having something for breakfast. I only have that if I'm on a road trip or something. I don't have that. Although they are building one right around the corner from my house, and I do mean right around the corner from the house. So it's gonna make a freaking killing. Yeah, it's always busy. Yeah, I don't know why. Michael's had good prices. It just went, Michael's did the same thing Target did. Target, and I don't go to those stores very often, but Target, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, was great. And then they hey, let's start adding groceries. And as soon as they started adding groceries, all the other departments shrank. So they had more stuff, but less coverage in those areas. I don't need Target to have groceries. That's what a grocery store is for, And they just cut all the inventory and, I mean, I may go to Target once every 6 months, maybe even less often than that. But same thing, Michael's. Michael's reduced their inventory. You go in there and it's a lot of empty shelves. I don't like seeing a store with empty shelves. If you got empty shelves, you need a smaller store. Your store needs a smaller footprint. I don't like going to those places where it's a whole aisle and there's nothing there. It just seems sad. Did we lose a war or something like that? It's just depressing. But I've really been enjoying playing some of these things that I'm not familiar with. I mean, I'm not totally ignorant, but I'm okay, what's this Japanese bomber? I don't know what it is. So I look it up. Oh, it's a Mary. Who the hell knows what the hell a Mary is? Well, I do now. And then you get to fly around, and I'm playing really crappy stuff, so you can appreciate the better things when you get them. Not oh, we're just gonna hop into the really hot rods first. No. You got to play the crap things so you can appreciate. You can appreciate the things that are better. And, you know, just like when I play DVA, I like playing stuff with that's crappy sometimes. You know, I like playing with things outside your comfort zone. There we go. Michael's Hobby Lobby just recently. So they also same thing. They started reducing their inventory. They used to carry a couple of Airfix models. Now they don't carry them anymore. They used to carry like a Spitfire and like a Sherman. Oh, they don't carry that anymore. None of the stores have 1/72 scale stuff. It's like, okay, no, don't need to look at that. You know. And they just got rid of. I bought my airbrush from them, from my Iwata airbrush, which is awesome. And they had all the spare parts, and now they discontinued all the Iwata stuff. So I had posted it on Facebook that, you know, they were selling the airbrushes like half off. Like, that's a steal, you know. And so they're not going to carry airbrushes anymore. Oh no, they're going to carry airbrushes. They're just carrying the shitty ones. They're carrying the really shitty ones. Let's get some of these. Let's get all these fronds off and at least remove them. You know, the ones that, you know, you can buy and then be frustrated and then give up on airbrushing ever. I've been there. I had one of those cheap airbrushes a while ago. Just figured, well, I didn't know if I was going to find use of an airbrush, so let me not spend a lot of money on it. Well, the problem is every time you use it, you're frustrated, and it uses up all your usable time trying to get it to work. And then you're like, man, I hate this hobby, you know, or I hate airbrushing. Until I decided to give it another chance. I'm like, all right. You know, if you got 2 hours to do and an hour and 45 minutes of it is cleaning it and trying to get it to work, you're not really going to want to come back for more. So we got that solved. Now it's not even 50-50. We spend most of our time airbrushing. I know I get on one of these rants about how things suck now. But, you know, the thing is, it's frustrating because it wasn't like, oh, 40 years ago, things were great. No, I'm talking about like 5 years ago. You know, pre-COVID. COVID basically made so many things shitty. So many things post-COVID, it's like a reset on the American civilization. I mean, if there is such a thing. In my opinion. You know, it allowed this mindset to just be acceptable, to just be like, not give a fuck about anything. And it's not like I said, it's not like it's 30 years ago, like, it was just the other freaking day. I don't even want to go out to eat anymore. You know, it's too expensive. It's a roll of the dice whether or not you're going to have a good meal. You know, I used to love going out to eat. Can't you tell? Man, then when I went to Europe, I realized how much we're paying for food. We're getting taken advantage of here in the United States on food prices. Okay. Now, we need to assembly line this a little bit more. Alright, so let's get rid of all the fronds, first of all. Yeah, the only airbrushes it looks like they're carrying are those little handheld ones that are like rechargeable, which I guess is better than using those using those air cans. Remember those things? Using a bunch of air cans to power it. So I used one of those battery powered ones a couple weeks ago at this seminar that I went to in Tampa, and they basically gave everybody one of those to use, and they work fine except when it's time to switch colors and clean the airbrush, because they're basically top out at, I don't know, 15 psi or something like that, maybe 20, but just not enough ass to blow anything through, you know. Plus you're it's losing charge just cleaning the airbrush, you know, and the lower your psi trying to rinsing the airbrush, I should say. The lower your psi rinsing the airbrush, the longer it takes. So, wasn't super impressed with that. The spray pattern on it wasn't too bad, but actually it wasn't bad. The spray pattern on it wasn't bad at all. It's just a matter of cleaning it. Just was just like if you I have credit for you getting me interested in 172nd Figures game. Well, you're welcome. All you have to do is stand. I hope that I'm motivating people. I certainly have a lot of energy. The one true scale. If I did it again, if I was new getting into it, I don't like 28 millimeter at all. But I would consider doing what I do in 15s. I would have considered it. Now, when I went back to it, I'm not going to go to 15s because this is a big one. I'm not going to go back to 15s because I had a lot of 20s to do, a lot of 172nd scale stuff. And the really impressive thing about 172nd scale things are, repainting some of those old figures that we all have, those old plastic figures. And there's nothing wrong. The quality of the casting on the plastic figures is incredible. It is. The stuff that we're like, yeah, those are Airfix figures, whatever. Look at them. Go take a close look at them. Whoever sculpted those did a really great job on them. They got good faces. They generally have good equipment. They paint up well. They paint up really well. Some of my favorite figures I've ever painted are some of those desert rats from, remember for us it's MPC, not Airfix, right? MPC, you'd go to, who was it that was in the mall? Was it KB Toys? Somebody before KB. Remember there was two companies that was in the mall, or toy stores, and they always have, that's where I would get all that stuff. I would get all those MPC kits. And have those 600 scale ships, but they weren't, you look at the mold, it'd still say Airfix, but they were branded as MPC here in the States. At least in the early 80s they were. And all that stuff paints up really, really well. Really, really well. And what's really interesting is going to a model show. Because there are things that are priced there to freaking move. And there's nothing like taking a chance on a model that cost you $4. Or two models for $4 together. Which, that sounds like something I made up, but that was real. And yeah, it's fun, It's therapeutic. But I think I solved my airplanes. All of my airplanes are going to have landing gear down because they're going to be to use them on the ground on an airfield, or they're going to be a wreck, slightly wreck, crashed, crumpled, maybe, probably more accurate than a wreck. Wreck makes it sound like, you're going to have it like this, like a lawn dart stuck in the ground. Now, you got to do too much detailing to it, but just like, crumpled, like you had a bad landing or something like that. Like, the pilot survived, but the plane isn't going to fly again until it gets, serviced. It gets an overhaul. That kind of thing. Yeah, it's a great scale. The scale I really dislike, I don't like 48th. I don't like 48th. And I said the funny thing is my dad was always into trains, and when I was a kid, he gave me a Lionel O scale. And every time we went and we're like, hey, let's go look at the hobby store, see if there's something for your train. There never was. There never was anything for the O scale, which is like 48th. So every time maybe I've got a mental block with that scale, but it's a disappointing scale because I would always go as a kid, and there was nothing ever for my fake three rail train, you know. And then we lost that train set on the move. We think it stayed in an attic, and we never bought. I don't know, whatever. Shit happens. But I don't like 48 scale. I'm a in the 72nd, now you got planes and tanks that they both make, and because if you're in the 48 scale, that's cool. Do all 48th, right? That way you can lay things next to each other and like be surprised. Like I was surprised how big a Messerschmitt was. I mean, like wingspan, like it's you can't even like fart in there. It's so damn tight. You basically they build you in there with it, but the actual plane is pretty big. Well, you need wings to have lift, or otherwise you don't take off. But yeah, I like seeing them all next to each other. So we're not going to wreck all of them. I got this P40. It's not going to be a wreck. The P47 is not going to be a wreck. The P47 is a Tamiya kit, and the gold standard of models. I built many 35th scale models. I won't build another one. Although I could probably game my skirmish game in 35th, but you'd need a really big board. You'd need a really big mat for that. You lived in Sarasota. You had a magnificent Lionel Model Train Road Museum. Yeah. I like the railroad stuff. I don't have time to do this and that. You know. I haven't done the railroad stuff in 40 years probably. I never had my own stuff. My dad always wanted to set up a place. He was like, hey, he always wanted to have his trains or whatever. He had a bunch of old River Rossies from like probably the late 60s. But I remember there's this article in not Fine Skill Modeler. I hate Fine Skill Modeler. Never liked that magazine. Model Railroader. I never liked Fine Skill Modeler because if you found an article that you liked about a subject you were interested in, that was the only article you'd find. I never saw an article that had two things I was interested in. I never saw a magazine that had like two articles that I was interested in for Fine Skill Modeler. They're like all over the place. They're trying to appeal to everybody, and never really cared for it. No, Model Railroader. There's this one guy who had this set at Model Railroader, and I don't remember what it is. I'm sure there's probably something like similar to this online now, because this was way before online was a thing. This would have been in the early 90s when I saw this. And it was this guy who basically had this point A to point B, maybe point A to point B, point C, and then a D, a couple spurs or whatever. And he had rolling stock in different places. And he had a 3x5 card for each piece of rolling stock that described, what it was, whether it was, this is a B&O coal car, number 5634, because, maybe he had like 6 of them or whatever. And you have these you have a 3.5x5 card for each piece of rolling stock. And then he played a game where he basically shuffled them. I already don't like it already because it has shuffling to do with it. No, it's a really cool thing, but he shuffled them, and he basically would have to decide. He would have to get a certain number of cars, random cars, from one location and move them to another yard. And you can't use your hands, right? So you have to go grab the piece of rolling stock, bring it over the decoupler, push it on, So he ended up making a game out of it. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I could see that. Although my experience with decouplers is they're even more finicky than an airbrush. But he made a game out of it, And, I like making a game out of whatever it is that you're doing because then you're participating. If you're just building a model and you don't do anything with it other than it sits there, what are you really doing? But if you're you're reenacting, so to speak. That's wargaming is my reenacting. You guys ever get hit by one of the hurricanes when you lived in Sarasota? That's the bad thing about living in a place like that. Sarasota's beautiful, but I can't live in a place where it's like, oh, I don't know if my house is going to be here next year. Jeez, man, and I lived in Florida my whole life, and that's just not something that even comes across my mind here, just because of where I am in Florida. Could it happen? I guess it's really unlikely, considering we're in the middle of the state, and it's got to hit just wrong. Sarasota got hit twice after you moved to Utah. Well, the only thing I didn't like about Utah was it was too dry when I went, but it's beautiful. Mountains for me like that is like going to another planet. It's just something totally different that Utah and Colorado. Have been to? I think I've been to each one once. Yeah, I actually like Canada better than Utah or Colorado. Colorado, the mountains were probably better than Utah, but that whole nobody giving a shit about anything because everybody's smoking marijuana, just you can have that. I'm no interest in living in a place like that. No thanks. You can do whatever you want with your life, but man, I don't want to deal with people that are like that. And by Canada, I meant Banff, Calgary, that. I've never been to the other side. Maybe we keep tossing on the ground here. So imagine having a card for each squad model tank vehicle. Draw 3 to 5 cards to determine the force you have. Use it to capture objective. Yeah, you could do something like that. Although that sounds like a lot of. I got to work on really, really small stuff first. You got some German checkpoint, right? And you got a guy, you got a Jeep driver and a medic and maybe somebody who's bleeding out, and they got to get through the checkpoint. That's it. So you get and I keep talking about this scenario. Okay, what happens when you run somebody over? How does the rules handle that? How do the rules, running somebody over with a Jeep? Stop, or I'll say stop again. And we don't give a shit. Run them over. So, somebody gets hit by a Jeep, that kind of stuff. Somebody does small arms fire on a Jeep. What kind of damage does it do? Well, it depends where it hits. How do the rules handle that? And do I agree with it, or do we need to change it? That kind of stuff. So I don't mind the scenarios that are really, really, small. Like the Japanese and this in the Pacific, nobody's going to play the Japanese. Japanese are NPCs. Japanese are NPCs. Just don't. I don't want to start. If live people are going to play this game, I'm like, I'm not going to explain the rules. Like, just start playing. What can you do? We'll worry about it when your turn comes up. Okay, it's your turn. Okay, you get one action. What's an action? Well, what do you think an action is? You can move, or you can attack, or you can, do this. It's really simple. All right, move to the next guy. Don't overthink it. Everybody gets 2 actions. They don't necessarily go in a row. You could get them twice in a row. You could get them in a row, but the more people that are playing, the less likely your chit's going to come up twice in a row. There's just more chits to come out. Well, one thing I have thought about is when you get a tank reinforcement, you go roll to see which tank you get. Because I got enough tanks. I mean, if you get a T-34, let's say you're playing a scenario and you get a T-34 Model 43, like the kind of the Mickey Mouse turret that they have at Kursk. I got like 11 of them. And they're painted, So, that's pretty cool, You don't get to pick which one it is, see which one shows up, Same thing with Shermans. I got, I don't know, over a dozen Shermans. And can't wait to have more. I love me my Shermans. Why? They're boring. No, mine aren't. Mine got personality. I don't like other people's Shermans. Mine I like. There's too much flash on that one. We'll just trim that one off. Go nice. Shit, I don't know what time it is. 9:51. Oh, we got another 15 minutes. We'll try to do some of this during the night. With the daughter is back in college, so I got more hobby time. Just doing this on the weekends just doesn't can't get much done. I don't really have an agenda like I have to get it done by a certain time, but let's see if we could trim at least these up, and we'll leave the trimming the palm trees up for the trunks for day after tomorrow night. Tomorrow night I'm not going to be on here because I got a face-to-face gaming session, which I really don't care to do. It's not because of the people. I just go over there and, hang out. That's fine. But like actually trying to play a game at the end of a work day that runs really late and screws me up for the rest of the week because I'll end up getting like 4 hours of sleep that night. I'm like, not really a fan, Got nothing to do with the people that are playing. I would game on a weekend. I would game on a day where I get the next day off. That kind of thing. Not game at a time where you got to work the next day. Like, the top portion is pretty much flash free for the most part. And if it didn't have this flash, these trees are awesome. I mean, they look really good. They paint up well. They got nice detail. So what did I get you doing in 1/72nd scale? You build an armor, planes, both, figures. I think it's the perfect scale. You can use matchbox vehicles, and they're not too bad out of scale. They're not too bad. Several are usable. They're more usable than, say, using them for, an HO scale layout. Because not only is HO scale 87th and Matchbox is 164th, Hot Wheels, generally, most of them are 164th. There's exceptions, but most of them are 164th. But, some of the 172nd scale figures are heroic. Certainly the white metal ones. So they're going to look a little bigger than they normally do, so they'll fit in with a vehicle better. Plan doing small armies for the game 1 Hour War Games, which covers ancients through World War II. Well, something like that is you could, you could add more detail if you feel like it needs it. I just realized that, after playing DBA for so many years, I'm just not an abstract guy. And it's not that I hated DBA. I didn't. I had nothing to do with that. It just has to be that when you can't figure something out, it just uses a thought pattern that does not come naturally to me to think abstractly. I'm just not an abstract thinker. I'm good at Algebra 1 and geometry, not Algebra 2. Okay, I think we're done here with this stuff. And what we'll do is we'll pick this up next time, and we'll finish doing the rest of these fronds and things. That's what we'll do. We gotta do this before we go back to do the basing here. All right, folks. Well, thanks for stopping by. I know this was about an hour, but I wanted to get some hobbying done.